do you feel that there's sufficient expertise and knowledge within the international development community today, particularly talking about here how to link democratic development and natural resources management, the main themes of the conference here this week?
Well, I think people are experimenting. They're learning. You know, I don't think there's any simple recipe for building kind of inclusive institutions in a society, and in some contexts there's enormous impediments to doing so. But what I like about, you know, this community of people here, you know, trying to think about how to harness, how to build, you know, institutional structures to facilitate, you know, accountability, transparency in the resource sector, trying to figure out, you know, what will it take to kind of, you know, shift the equilibrium in many of these societies in a way that natural resources are used better for the good of the people and for development. I see, you know, lots of creative ideas and experiments, and some things will work, and then you learn, and then you figure out, you know, how to do it. And so I think the international community is sort of trying, the development community is trying to learn about this, and I think it's a fantastic agenda, because, you know, it's not academics who are doing this, you know, it's practitioners who are coming up with the ideas and the innovations, and, you know, but from my perspective, it makes terrific sense. You know, if you want to get natural resources used for the benefit of society, you've got to empower people, you've got to get civil society involved, you've got to get the stakeholders involved, and that will slowly push things. So I don't think there's the capacity or knowledge at the moment, but the agenda, I think, is exactly right, and it just takes time and experimenting and learning to get there.
I wondered if you could have a think for a minute, if you had the chance to formulate an indicator for the post-2015 agenda. Of course, negotiations are ongoing at the moment. And I know that International IDEA, for example, are pushing for the inclusion of a democratic governance standalone goal in the new framework. How realistic do you think that aim actually is?
I'm not sure. I mean, you know, there's been vast improvements in democracy in the world in the past 20, 30 years. You know, think about Africa since the 1990s. There's been enormous improvement. For example, just the British government. You know, the British government played an immensely important role in, you know, democratizing Sierra Leone after the Civil War, and the international community played an immensely important role in democratizing Kenya. You know, after getting rid of President Moi, forcing President Moi to sort of compete and have elections, and everyone said, oh, it's all very fake and phony, but no, what do you know, it accumulated into something much less phony and much more participatory and competitive. And so I think the international community is already doing that, and I think that's a great thing. If you thought about, for example, this community-driven development that the World Bank and DFID and other people have been pushing, you know, for the last decade, you know, that hasn't been very successful actually in empowering local society, and, you know, most of the evidence suggests it's much less effective than its founders claim.
And what's the reason for that? Why hasn't
well,
it been so
because I think we don't really understand how to empower people and how to get them to cooperate and how to build social capital and trust, and that's not, you know, easy to understand how that happens.
So it's more organic.
Well, it just, you know, it just takes time. It takes to understand, you know, what tools we really have, you know, and it takes, you know, a lot more research on there's very little research on that. There's a beautiful book by Albert Hirschman about this called Getting Ahead Collectively, where he looked at successful experiences of collective action and what could promote it, and, you know, why did it go well here and not well there. So we just need more research and learning. So you know, as you said, there's no silver bullet.